Can anger twist your soul? This is a question I've been asked a lot over the years. Hi, my name is Janelle. If you're new here, I'm an identity architect and a spiritual guide, and I thought today I would share with you a story about a really angry soul that came through to my husband and I one evening several years ago. And I thought I would share this with you to answer the question of, can anger actually damage your soul? So, several years ago, before I start, I guess, Greg and I actually walk together on the other side. We're spiritual warriors. We do negative energy clearings together. Our spirit teams work together. We work with the divine archangels and seraphim angels and other angelics and dragons and all sorts of beings. And we do negative energy clearing. However, we also both have the joy of being able to communicate with souls once they have crossed or transitioned to the other side. I'm taking my glasses off because I can see the light reflecting in them, and I don't need to read anything or do anything at this point in time. So several years ago, Greg and I had found out earlier that day that a school friend of his had passed, had transitioned to the other side a few weeks before. And we'd been talking about it that evening and just before we went to bed. So we both dozed off, we went to bed that evening. We're both just dozing off, going to sleep. And suddenly I felt somebody sitting on my feet. And I know immediately if a soul is for me or for Greg. And, they show themselves differently to each of us and how it all works. And I just simply leant over to Greg, woke him up and said, will you get rid of whoever it is that is sitting on my feet, because they're really annoying. Anyway, this person, all I heard was a laughter. And he and Greg had a conversation, and it was actually my husband's school friend who had passed. And he came through to say goodbye. And he simply said to him, I just wanted to get you in trouble one more time. And apparently that was their thing that they did. And Greg just laughed, burst out laughter. They said goodbye. He left, he parted. As he was leaving, another soul came in from a portal through into our bedroom. Now this soul was angry. And it came through looking for the person who used to own the house. And it took a little bit of us both speaking to it and saying, look, that person is not only not here, they are literally not on this side anymore. They had transitioned a while ago. And the interesting thing was, there was a couple of interesting things. One was this person was extremely angry when they transitioned. Now, they had been holding on to anger for quite some time. When they came through, they looked like a Picasso painting. Everything was like out of alignment and twisted, and it just looked almost identical to like those Pablo Picasso paintings, things that you see, the images where they're, one eye bigger and the mouth skew and square lines, and really, really did not look like a normal soul. And that was our first indication. And apart from the fact that pure anger was just radiating off him. So pure anger was radiating off him. So once we finally got him to listen to the fact that this person that he was after was no longer on the human side, he had transitioned across. We then got the story, and we were told that he was looking for this person because his wife this soul's wife, had committed suicide based on the actions of this other person. And he had never forgiven him. He had never forgiven him. So when he actually transitioned, he was still hanging on to that anger and that hate. And it was the hatred that was actually, and the anger that was actually, causing him to actually, over several years of our time, different time on the other side, of course, but to become all twisted. So what actually happened was we called our angelic team in. They came in and calmed him down a little, and then one of them brought his wife's soul to him. And when she came, he simply relaxed. He relaxed down. And she said she had forgiven this other soul for what had happened, and that he needed to do that too. And very quietly and gently, the angels helped them, hand in hand, walk off together through the portal. This was really interesting to us because most of the energetics and the energies that we had dealt with that generally were either, if they were a darker energy, we've seen some very weird things on the other side, and that happens. But this was the first time we'd actually seen a human soul that had been twisted so much by such anger and hatred that it had actually affected the soul itself. We have seen souls that have been splintered, and we have helped to bring them back together, shards of souls that have been missing. There's all sorts of stories and things that we can actually share with you over time. However, it was interesting to watch this, and I think it was a really good lesson to learn to let go of any anger or anything negative that is actually hanging on to you, especially as you are, you get to a point in your life where you might realize that you are transitioning. However, it's really any time, because we don't know when our last day on this earth is going to be. We don't know, not really. We might have an idea, we might have a thought. But unless we've actually been diagnosed and given a time frame, and even then we don't know. But if you let go and learn to let go of the anger, the hurt, any of the negative energies before you transition, then it's not going to have so much of an effect on your soul. It was interesting. We literally took a little while to calm down and to go back to sleep after this. But I just wanted to share this with you because I've had several people over time ask me, does a soul become twisted if it's angry when it crosses? And this is our experience of that actually happening. So thanks for taking the time to listen. I hope to see you on the next video. And remember, let go of the anger and the nasty stuff. You don't need it. You really don't need it.